It's time to bring the player back to the main menu and close the loop on a single round of gameplay. We'll create a new object that displays the results of the round, including kill count and a performance rating. We'll then repurpose the briefing object to implement the debriefing sequence in just a dozen extra lines of code. Let's start by looking at the debriefing sequence in the actual game. I'll fast forward through the mission since we've seen it several times already. The first thing we see is a results screen that shows Vel's face and types out each of the lines here in either light green or dark green. We'll take a screenshot of this to refer to it. Then we go to Mission 1 debriefing sequence. There's two parts to it, one in the hangar and the other in the commander's office. We'll have to make a storyboard for this sequence. Let's go into GameMaker. Since we're in a new room, I'll create the room init script that loads the results object on startup. I'll create the blank object. Let's add that init script to the room creation code. So the first job in the results object is the usual keyboard binding and the game data object reference. Then we'll need some variables. We'll pre-compute the line height that we'll use to draw spaced lines. The usual fading, a trigger for if we're done drawing a line. I'm not completely sure we'll use that yet. So we need to assign a face depending on the mission. If you've already played through Traffic Department, you know that Vel's character changes throughout the game. We need to match the face to the episode. Now we have to get the performance rating quotes that appear at the bottom of the screen. We'll have to dig these out of the binary in IDA. Copy these, cut away the excess. Now paste them into an array, starting with the worst first. Now we'll compute the line text on create. Each line will have both a color and a text. The result is made up of 13 lines, with half of them being blank. We'll assign either the light green or the dark green color. We'll use two arrays of length 13, one for the color and one for the text of the line. Now just go through and match the lines to the variables in the game data object. Remember, the headquarters object in the mission passed these data to the game data object at the end of the mission. We'll pull the quote by just dividing the total kills by 15 and rounding down. Make sure we don't go beyond the array size. Finally, we'll have another array of length 13 that holds the partially drawn lines. It starts empty and we fill it up one character at a time. On destroy, we'll deregister the keyboard. We'll also remove the current mission data since we're done with it. On destroy, the results object creates the briefing object that will change shortly to handle debriefings. Now we'll process the input in the usual way. This time I want a key press to automatically print out the completed lines if it's still drawing them. Otherwise it fades out the object and we move on to the debriefing sequence. This fading sequence looks like just about every other one we've created. You'd think I'd have made a script for this by now instead of retyping everything. Yet another refactor opportunity. Now let's draw out each of the characters' the results one at a time. We'll get the length of both the full line and the drawn line. Now if the lengths aren't equal, then we'll add the next character to the drawn line until they match. Otherwise we'll go to the next line. We'll eventually stop after 13 full lines. Drawing the results is easy. We just draw the face in the upper right, and we go through each of the text lines, setting the color and drawing the text separated by line heights. I'll use the GameMaker automatic line wrapping feature so that it handles the rating, which might use 2 or more lines. That's it for the results object. Let's make some minor changes to the briefing object so we can handle the debriefing of mission 1. Remember we made a briefing storyboard. We'll use the same array, but now I want it to be populated based on which room we're in. The briefing room will load the briefing storyboards, and the debriefing room will load the debriefing storyboards. I'll copy the storyboard for the briefing since the format is mostly the same. The briefing is longer because it has 2 sequences, one in the hangar and one in the commander's office. Remember these numbers match the dialog file's scene ID. These have to be dug out of the dialog file by comparing the number to the flow in IDA, or by just playing the game. I've already looked these up for this video. Now we have to change which room the object moves us to on destroy. If we're in the briefing room, we go to the mission. If we're in the debriefing room, we go to the main menu. That should be it. Let's test. I'll fast forward to the mission again. Now the debriefing. Well, that's a problem. It's not adding any letters to the text or advancing the lines. Let's see if we can get through the debriefing. Uh-oh. Looks like a crash because the keyboard object, of all things, looks like a bad reference. We haven't had that problem at all. I must have not deregistered the results object after it was destroyed. Let's see what we can do. It looks like I registered it twice instead of deregistering it. The keyboard object could probably check these references first and do its own garbage collection. So for the text scrolling, it looks like there's 2 problems here. Typos. We need to base the copy on the current line length, not the line number. And we need it to add the next character, not assign it. Hopefully that does it. The results look good. The correct mission and kill count. Now we'll watch the debriefing sequence. First the hangar. Now the commander's office. And we're back home. Let's test that saving feature we put in about 20 videos ago. Well, that's not right. It put the kill count in for the mission, and it didn't put anything for the kill count. I was hoping this would work the first time, but I guess not. I'll try closing and loading the game anyway, and see what happens. Yeah, I didn't think so. It broke because we didn't have any briefing settings for the Mission 13. Later, we'll make sure that the game doesn't crash if there's no assigned briefing. It'll just go to the mission. I'm curious about the saving, so let's take a look at the code and see if there's any obvious bug. See there? I assigned both variables to the same place. The kill count overwrote the mission, and the kill count was never written at all. And that was an easy catch, so I won't bother to test it this time. Showing off the loading and saving was just an added bonus for this video. Didn't work out, though. So we finished the cycle. We're ready to start filling in the game content, which is all 59 mission scripts and the briefing sequences. But we're not going to go that route with the prototype. We want to use this prototype to demonstrate features and game flow. So next time we'll add 1 or 2 improvements over the original game.